discussing Broadcom versus Nvidia. Broadcom had earnings last week. The stock's up about 35% since the earnings. Nvidia's down about 3%. The reason this is happening is because there is, it looks like, a viable competitor to Nvidia emerging in the name of Broadcom. Let me discuss first some of the facts and then our view. The facts are that Broadcom has what's called AI XPU, which is basically an application-specific integrated circuit business where they make specific semiconductors for AI workloads. And that business is growing roughly 3x year over year. And that is competing directly with Nvidia's offering, whether it's Blackwell, H200, H100, those sort of offerings. Now, let me also explain maybe real quickly what's going on. Both stocks trade around 20 times sales. Actually, Nvidia is a little bit cheaper than Broadcom right now. Broadcom's growing roughly the same. Actually, Nvidia is growing a little bit faster. So, if you will, Broadcom's kind of catching up here. But I think at these levels, whether it's 18 or 20 times sales, probably doesn't matter as much because also the sales are growing so dramatically that these types of growth rates can vary. The price to sales ratios can vary quite a bit based on the growth rates also. I think my point is that the main competition that Broadcom is offering is on the type of workloads that are predictable, that don't require flexibility, and where ASIC type offerings can really accelerate either token per dollar trajectories or even solution per dollar trajectories. And the strength of NVIDIA is flexibility in parallelism. So I'm going to discuss what that actually means and what the strength of NVIDIA is, why NVIDIA is where it is today, a $3.2 trillion market cap company versus 1.2 trillion Broadcom. I'm going to also explain how I see the future of NVIDIA. The bet of NVIDIA is robotics. It's four-dimensional data. And I'm going to bring in two presentations. One is Ilya Sutskever at NeurIPS, and the other is Ted Xiao at Coral. And they talk about robotics, and I'm going to explain, actually, Ilya talks generally about AI, and Ted about robotics. And I want to bring in those two presentations for two reasons. One is, I think, in Ilya's presentation, we kind of infer that the AI community is assuming that the pre-training era is over and that we're now focusing on agents and reasoning. And Ted Xiao is saying, no, in the foundation model for robotics space and for robotics in general, actually, we still have big challenges to solve, in particular scaling laws and formatting laws, which means that because in robotics, what we're actually optimizing for is actuators, and those are not yet fully standardized. We have, and this goes back to the first problem, we have a problem with scaling them, and then we also have a problem with scaling evaluation. So there's really a lot of new fundamental problems to be solved, and NVIDIA is solving those with Omniverse, and that's the solution to all these problems. So we believe that the area of pre-training might be over for text-based AI, but not for three-dimensional AI. This is not even on podcast. It's December 16, 2024. This is Krimdelko. For the day, the fund is up roughly 11%. The market's up 30 basis points. For the year, we are up 112%. The market is up 27%. We're outperforming by 85%. Roughly, these are rough numbers. I want to get to this conversation about Broadcom versus NVIDIA from really two angles. One, I just want to look at the business right now and compare the business of Broadcom with NVIDIA and how they compete. And then I want to talk about the future as we see it and the bet on NVIDIA. So the way we see the business of Broadcom is that they are able to deliver AI solutions that are heavily hardware-based and where software is an auxiliary feature that allows for more flexible hardware utilization versus With Nvidia, it's the other way around. It's the software, it's the CUDA system, the platform that allows for parallel programming, and that is the key. And the ecosystem is locked in through the CUDA system for flexible parallelization of workloads. And then the hardware under it is optimized for those workloads, and therefore you get much, much better token per dollar performance. So this is roughly the way we see it. So where Broadcom can make inroads is in workloads that are predictable, where flexibility is not necessary anymore. So if you have, for example, certain workloads like text generation for marketing collateral that, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of customers are using, there's millions and millions of workloads per day, those kinds of things can be standardized by, let's say, Amazon or Azure, or even by, let's say, internet companies like Facebook or Reddit or whatnot, and they can use custom chips that are designed by Broadcom, and also custom networking solutions that are designed by Broadcom to deliver a cheaper performance and still have good token per dollar performance. Versus with Nvidia, it's what you're really buying with Nvidia is a software platform. Now, under the hood, we have very, very strong hardware, which allows the CUDA platform to be as prolific as it is. But it's the software which ties in the people. So it's the software stupid, if you will, right? Now, having said that, the question today is, okay, fine, look, the market's big enough. If you look at Broadcom or Nvidia, they both claim that the market is big enough for several competitors to offer solutions. The question at these types of valuations is, how is this going to continue? And I think with Nvidia, we have a very clear roadmap of how this is going to continue, which is we have a robotics driven platform. In other words, we're now looking at three-dimensional plus time, so four-dimensional data. And that's different than the text-based Gen AI models that we're dealing with right now. And for that, we need, first and foremost, a lot more data. So the age of pre-training is not over as we see it, and as I think Ilya Sutskever is not right about that. He's right about his part of the world, which is the text-based Gen AI, but not the robotics AI. And I think that's where Tachiao comes in. I think foundation models for robotics is definitely an area of expansion, and Omniverse is going to play a massive role. What is Omniverse? Omniverse is a platform for 3D rendering of images, videos, and therefore, in a more general way, it's a 3D platform for simulating physics. That's what it is. I don't want to go into too much detail on what that actually means from a technical engineering perspective, but you could kind of think about it this way. Like, do we, let's say if I paraphrase Jeff Hinton, actually, who spoke recently at a workshop in Sweden, and he said something very interesting. He said that in the pre-ImageNet AI area, people were kind of looking at the world as the world of intelligence as sort of a connection of logical statements. And intelligence was supposed to be inferred from logic. Versus what he says is, no, intelligence can be learned. And that was the big breakthrough. And that was what led to ImageNet and the revolution that we have been witnessing ever since 2012. Now, the same is happening to robotics, right? Is physics simulation, is Omniverse, is the platform of Omniverse a collection of logical statements of physics knowledge that can translate into virtual world? Or is it a platform to learn physics from observation? And I think it's the latter. And I think that opens a massive, massive new door for Nvidia to explore and be helpful to the world in a way for training and inference in the physical world. What that means practically is that Omniverse can be used for, let's say, robotic simulation, which is already being used, but even more broadly, it can be used for simulating physical systems, such as batteries and material science and generally physics, chemistry, pharma, all of these things can be, and this goes back to a talk that Jensen gave maybe about a year ago at the healthcare conference, where he spoke about the dream of having drug design all in virtual reality. So, which is very similar to how semiconductors are being designed today. So this is roughly the outline. So the bet on Nvidia is that we have a future of three-dimensional data, training, and inference. And of course, the risk here is that Nvidia built something and nobody's using it, because this has to be used by science. So for example, the way we see science evolve is the scientist is not the one who tinkers in the lab and comes up with solutions to problems. The scientist is in the business of training an AI model to infer from reality what solutions could be used for the particular problem that the scientist is trying to solve. So to summarize, I think the competitive situation between Broadcom and Nvidia comes down to Broadcom being an application-specific semiconductor supplier for AI workloads, and Nvidia being a platform for future parallelization-driven AI. Now, what does that mean, by the way? Why is Nvidia so strong? It's because they've invested decades of understanding parallelism in AI models. In fact, it's a back and forth research where they develop hardware for existing algorithms, and algorithms are being developed for specific hardware solutions. And the goal is always to exploit parallelism. And parallelism is very important because it saves time and often energy and definitely money when it comes to training AI models. And when we go to four-dimensional, again, 3 dimensions plus time type models, I think this solution, the problem of having more efficient, more flexible models is just going to increase. So we see the demand for NVIDIA solutions actually exponentially grow with the need for physical simulations. Again, this is a big bet on a change in the way physical systems are being developed, whether it's material science, whether it's SpaceX trying to develop a heat shield for Starship, whether it's a drug company developing drugs and simulating the influence of the drug on the human body, whether it's a material science company developing better battery chemistry. All of these types of problems are today bespoke tinkering type solutions with scientists working in labs with white coats. And we see the future of those types of problems being solved in virtue, and then having a tape out, and then doing the physical, having foundries which actually develop the physical product, maybe even some sort of 3D printing. So this is the future. This is the big bet of NVIDIA. And I think, again, we have enough evidence, I think, from scholars like Ted Xiao, Jeff Hinton, and even Ilias' talk that I think is probably, I think Ilias wrong about saying that the age of pre-training is over and we're now focusing on agents and reasoning. Yeah, that's true for large language models, and that's fine. But there's a whole new world, a whole new physical world, a whole new world of real-world AI, or physical AI, that is being exploited right now specifically by Tesla and its FSD offering. But in the future, we will have a lot broader physical AI, a lot broader real-world AI, and that's where NVIDIA and Omniverse will kick in. Thank you.